All right. Welcome back to this final project. So we are at the final project for the training. Today, we will build a web page for our canister. This shouldn't take too much time. It's not super complex, but I do need to explain a few things before. Essentially, how canisters can answer HTTP requests. So this morning, we've actually talked about HTTP requests, but we've talked about the HTTP request that comes out of the canister. Now we are talking about the HTTP requests that come in the canister. So essentially, when you access your Candid UI, you are making an HTTP request, and the Candid UI is able to serve you the front end that you see. And this is what we will see today, but in a very simplified manner, because we will simply serve a hello world type of web page. So there will be some text, but it will be really basic. Let's have our main.motoko on the left and our project.markdown on the right. So canisters are able to serve web content and website. This is what we will leverage in this feature. As you can see, this is the type of web page that you can serve from a canister directly in Motoko. So of course you have to know, I would say, the basis of HTML just to encode and implement the structure, but then everything else comes from the Motoko side. And I could show you a quick example. This needs to be a query. I don't know who. I need to fix that. Let me just mark it somewhere. Change. Yeah, this needs to be a query, not an update. And then whenever we deploy that, so we can take a look at the Candid UI. But actually, the Candid UI is not exactly how we want to access the canister, because here we are accessing through this UI. So we are actually seeing the HTTP request, but we are not really experiencing the HTTP request. So what we want to do is essentially replace the Candid UI canister ID by our own canister ID. So we directly access this canister ID. And here we can see the Hello World page that is served, and we can take a look. It's basic HTML with a body and the text that we've specified. Oops. Keep in mind that you need to access it through canisterid.row.icp0.io. If you remove the .row, so if you just access it like this, you will see this message. Body does not pass verification, which essentially the IC by default certifies the assets that it serves. So essentially, if you have a web page that is stored on the IC, you can take the hash of this web page, you can sign the hash through the IC public key. And so whenever a user receives the page on his browser, so here, assuming the user has the public key of the IC stored on their machine, they can just check the hash and compare it. And so they know if the web page that has been served is the web page that is stored on the IC. And that's a really secure way and safe way to interact with like DeFi application, for example. There was some hacks like a few weeks ago through Ledger, some Ledger frontend that were hacked. This would not have been possible if we implement this certification. But implementing this certification requires quite some advanced concept that I will not dive into today and not during the bootcamp. So essentially today, make sure to use .ro.icp0.io. Okay, so yeah, today you need to find a logo. You need to set a value for your logo by copying the logo. So I'm recommend to use a SVG file. You need to implement the getStat function and HTTP request as well. At the end of the level, your canister will implement the following interface. So you can see that today we don't have actually a lot of work. It's, I would say, simpler than what we've done before. Just a lot of HTML and HTTP requests to deal with. Of course, HTTP request types are defined in the types.motoko as always. You can take a look here. If you have a local canister, then it's the same. You just need to access the canister like this. So the address is gonna be 127.0.0.1.4943, and then query parameters, so interrogation mark canister ID equal the canister ID that you want to access. I think the link that you sent me is the link of the Candid UI, I'm guessing. So yeah, you just need to remove basically the first, you need to remove this one if you want to access this one, and then put this one here. Okay, I'll give you 25 minutes and then we will correct this project. And after that, we will move to the mentorship session where I will show you the graduation project. So the final project that takes everything that we've done into a different form. And this is the project that you will have to work on tonight and also this weekend if you haven't done it so far. So good luck everyone and see you in 25 minutes. Okay, I hope that you've successfully done the web page. I don't see. Do we need to do this at the end of this level? Yeah, so the interface that is here, it's not necessarily something that you don't have to do it. It's just the way it should be at the end. I mean, you should have those functions, which essentially is this one and this one. Okay, let's go. So the step number one is to select a logo, and I actually have the Motoko Bootcamp logo. So I'm going to check it here. Here. So this is the SVG version. This is what the SVG looks like. And where is my, it's here. So if you don't have a logo, you can either take this or you can, of course, select one from this website. But actually any logo would work. And then, so I will, maybe first I will need to format that. That would be better to have it formatted. I just need this part. Okay. Now the trick is that in Motoko we use double quotes to separate. So I'm going to do to select all the double quotes and replace them by single quotes to not mess with the Motoko delimitations. So okay. Yeah, here. Okay. So that's task number one and task number two. Task number three is to complete get stats. So here we are using name. We are going to use the name of our DAO, which is here in the project one. So we can simply do name. Manifesto will be similar. Goals, we need to convert the goals to an array. So buffer to an array. Logo will be logo. Number of members will be members.size. And the members here, it's gonna be a little bit different because we want the name. If we take a look at the types here, what we want is oops, let me see. Yeah, so we want an array of text. So we want just the names of the member. We can do get member names. And we will use array.map member to text. We will take members.values and a function that takes a member and return the name. So what I'm doing here is I'm using one method that we have not seen yet, array.map, which we can apply to an array, and it's gonna convert every element in the array and apply the function that on the elements. So here I'm specifying that my type will be member to text, essentially here I'm taking an array that contains all my members, and then I applying a function which only keeps the name. So this function returns all the member names, and we can have that here. Yeah, we can have it here like this. Okay, so we are good with this. Now for the HTTP requests, we need to take a look here. So yes, we need to take a look at this. So the status code is going to be 200. This is a positive status code. So the streaming strategy will be null because we are not using more than 2 megabytes of data. So we don't need to implement any streaming strategy. And the headers, we will use this one. So content type text HTML and encoded as UTF-8. And for the body, we do text.encode UTF-8. So text.encode UTF-8 is also a method that we haven't seen so far, but it's in the text library here. And it takes a text and returns a blob. So a UTF-8 encoded blob stands for binary large object. So it's just a binary encoded object. And here we are going to do get web page. Get web page is this helper function that we have, which returns a HTML page that is ready for you to use. You have the name inside the page, the manifesto, the logo, and a list of goals for your DAO. So now we can deploy that. Again, we want to access this directly, not the Candid UI. ic0.io. Let me see. Yeah. We have our web page, and we can confirm that if we maybe add a goal, we will have this goal on the web page. Okay. And now we can see that it's added here. So that's it for the project 5. That was it. Nothing more complex. Congratulations if you've made it so far, because you have completed the training. So we've seen we see everything that we need for the graduation project. Every concept, so HTTP, the voting system, the database, the token, and the foundation project. So we've seen everything. Now I'm going to stop this session here, except if there are some questions, but I don't see any question in the chat. And I see you in 15 minutes for the mentorship session where I present the graduation project. So there was some typo mistakes in the repository, which I have corrected yesterday night. So it should be very clear, but I want to give you the getting started instructions. Yeah, see you there, and see you in a few minutes.